What if tomorrow, astronomers pointed their telescopes at Proxima Centauri and discovered not just another exoplanet, but a shimmering blue-green paradise screaming, "Move in today, no down payment required." Welcome to What If Horizons, where we explore the gloriously unlikely possibilities hiding in the universe's back pockets. Today, we're plunging headfirst into the cosmic rabbit hole of finding Earth 2.0 right next door, complete with alien wafis, intergalactic zoning laws, and the real possibility that space dolphins might be cooler than us. Imagine the champagne popping at NASA when they confirm it. Breathable air, liquid water, average temperature a balmy 72 degrees, basically Florida without the alligators or Florida man. The press conference would be chaos. Scientists trying to sound professional while screaming internally, journalists asking if they've checked for alien Starbucks locations, and some guy in the back yelling, "Tax the space real estate." The first sign things wouldn't go smoothly. The naming rights war. Proxima b is a boring astrophysics designation. Elon Musk would immediately rebrand it Tesla 392 and promise underground Hyperloop cities. The UN would propose something diplomatic like New Eden, which everyone would ignore in favor of calling it Planet McPlanet face after an online poll gets hijacked. Wikipedia would descend into edit wars over whether to classify its hypothetical inhabitants as aliens or future neighbors who probably hate our zoning laws. And oh, the tourism. Billionaires would start auctioning off seats on the first civilian flights before anyone confirmed whether the planet had deadly space pollen or aggressive alien timeshares. Instagram influencers would launch first selfie on Proxima b campaigns while scientists desperately tried to explain light years of distance to people who still think Wi-Fi comes from magic. Airlines would slap, "Coming soon," stickers on their jets, ignoring the minor issue that current technology would make the trip take several human lifetimes. But the real drama, the geopolitical scramble, countries would trip over themselves planting flags like some intergalactic game of musical chairs. There'd be emergency UN sessions about peaceful interplanetary resource allocation, translation, who gets the good beaches. Conspiracy theorists would claim the planet was a hoax, then pivot to insisting it's where the lizard people really come from. And NASA's budget. Suddenly the Pentagon would discover trillions in missing defense funds redirected to build the USS Overcompensation, the first starship with a built-in food court. Religions would have a field day. Some would declare it proof of divine abundance, others would sermonize about the dangers of playing God in another God's sandbox. The first space missionary would accidentally offend the locals by offering them pamphlets printed on Earth trees they've never seen. And Silicon Valley, they'd launch a startup church worshipping the cosmic algorithm before the first probe even landed. Meanwhile, ordinary people would stare at the news, then at their rent payments, then back at the news, wondering if interstellar refugee could be a career path. The housing market would collapse when everyone realized they could technically homestead a new continent if they just, invented faster than light travel by next Tuesday. But here's the twist. The planet might be too perfect. No mosquitoes, no reality TV. What if the native trees grow organic Wi-Fi but the oceans are just one giant existential crisis about humanity's place in the universe? Worst of all, what if we get there and the aliens take one look at our TikTok trends and politely revoke our landing privileges? One thing's certain. The moment we spot that blue marble next door, humanity will collectively lose its mind. Whether we're ready or not, the cosmos just handed us a question wrapped in stardust. What kind of neighbors will we be? The day the discovery went public, social media exploded faster than a SpaceX test rocket. Proxima b party trended globally while astronomers facepalmed over tabloid headlines like 10 signs your soulmate lives on another planet, and zodiac updates for alien sun signs. Conspiracy forums shifted overnight from analyzing government UFO cover-ups to passionately debating whether the new planet's clouds resembled the McDonald's logo. Wake up, sheeple. Space capitalism is here. Governments responded with signature mixes of panic and opportunism. The White House press secretary stumbled through a statement that somehow linked the discovery to historic tax reform. Russia announced plans to send a special cultural delegation, a single cosmonaut with a flask and a DVD of Armageddon. China live-streamed a rocket test while subtly reminding the world they'd already trademarked the Harmony Planet Initiative. The European Union spent 3 weeks debating whether Proxima b vegetables would require organic certification. Meanwhile, Corporations went full sci-fi. Amazon unveiled concept art for prime interstellar delivery window, 40 to 200 years. Tesla stock soared after Musk tweeted a crude MS Paint drawing of a Cybertruck lunar module. Fast food chains scrambled to invent galactic burger mascots, and somehow, Mattel won the marketing war by announcing Proxima Barbie, astronaut ecologist with realistic oxygen tank. Academia descended into glorious chaos. Astrophysics departments were mobbed by students demanding to major in first contact studies. Climate scientists wept with joy as politicians suddenly cared about atmospheric research, until they realized it was just to scout vacation homes. Philosophy professors found themselves teaching ethics of interstellar gentrification to packed lecture halls. The biggest upset, when the astronomy club's resident UFO enthusiast correctly predicted Proxima B's composition and became the university's most cited researcher overnight. Pop culture underwent instant mitosis. Netflix greenlit Proxima Shore, a reality show about astrophysicists sharing a beach house before the ink dried on the discovery paper. Hollywood dusted off every rejected Alien script, rebranding Attack of the Space Squids as the thoughtful tentacled neighbors we deserve. Pop stars released cringe-worthy space anthems, the worst being Gravity Can't Hold Us From Loving You, Proxima B by an auto-tuned astronaut who'd never left Florida. Religious institutions faced celestial growing pains. The Vatican convened an emergency astrotheology panel to determine whether original sin applied to planets without apples. A mega church in Texas installed a prayer station for our cosmic brothers next to the coffee bar. Buddhist monks meditated on whether enlightenment travels at light speed. And in an unexpected twist, flat earthers split into factions, half insisting Proxima B was obviously a hologram, the other half claiming it proves all planets are disks. Tech billionaires revealed themselves, as usual, to be the worst. One announced plans to upload human consciousness to the new planet via USB drives. Another vowed to build a blockchain republic, where citizenship required solving crypto puzzles. The lowest moment, when a startup CEO tried to patent Proxima B's potential water cycles, claiming they'd disrupted hydrology. Back on Earth, normal people had epiphanies. Bartenders reported a surge in orders for the existential crisis, 3 shots, no ice. Dating, profiles everywhere updated to seeking partner for potential arc building. Subreddits like Proxima B realtors and avoiding space while gained millions of members overnight. And somewhere, a lone kindergarten teacher sighed as their students presented what I'll pack for space, drawings featuring iPhone chargers and emotional support hamsters. The most telling reaction, Google searches for how to apologize to Earth spiked 40,000%. Maybe we weren't ready to be interstellar neighbors. Maybe we'd mess it up spectacularly. But for the first time in history, humanity stared at the stars and saw not just infinite darkness, but an infinite chance. Whether we'd brought folding chairs for the cosmic party, however, remained to be seen. The first probe to reach Proxima B didn't send back the expected scientific data. Instead, humanity's inaugural message from our cosmic backyard was a blurry photo of what appeared to be an alien middle finger, followed by the unmistakable sound of a dial-up modem screeching, "Your call has been rejected." Scientists debated for days whether this was A. hostile first contact, B. a technical glitch, or C. proof that bureaucracy transcends species. Undeterred, NASA fast-tracked the Nice Try Universe mission, a heavily armored probe equipped with universal translators, gift baskets of Earth's finest cultural exports, TikTok compilations, a Chuck Norris DVD, and samples of Nashville hot chicken, and a backup plan involving fireworks spelling, "We come in peace mostly." Meanwhile, SETI interns worked round-the-clock shifts monitoring for alien radio, until one exhausted student realized they'd been tracking a malfunctioning McDonald's ice cream machine for 6 weeks. Back on Earth, the Proxima Industrial Complex exploded. Luxury brands released Space Survivor gear, Hermes oxygen masks, Gucci asteroid-proof parkas. Theme parks debuted Proxima Land, rides where visitors could experience authentic alien queues, just 8-hour lines for bathrooms. Tesla dealerships offered pre-reservations for land speeders that wouldn't exist for centuries. The most absurd cash grab, a Manhattan pop-up restaurant charging $500 for Proxima-inspired cuisine, essentially glow-in-the-dark algae with garnish. The scientific community fractured into warring factions. Team, dive right in, wanted to launch colony ships immediately, arguing humanity's survival outweighed small concerns like unknown pathogens or angry locals. Team, maybe don't space Columbus this, advocated for decades of study, prompting accusations of being anti-adventure. The worst infighting came from paleontologists, who insisted dinosaurs also deserved interstellar travel and demanded funding for T-Rex cryopods. Religion got weird, fast. A cult worshipping the Holy Broadband declared Wi-Fi signals were divine messages from Proxima b. Catholic dioceses debated whether spacefaring humans needed orbital confession booths. A televangelist claimed his $200 prosperity moon rocks would guarantee celestial real estate. Meanwhile, Tibetan monks achieved the impossible, making noises loud enough to be picked up by deep space mics. Youth culture rebelled in predictable but creative ways. Proxima Punk fashion featured duct-taped space helmets and jackets spray-painted with "Eat the Rich" on other planets too. TikTok dances incorporated zero-gravity moves nobody could actually perform yet. Underground clubs hosted anti-grav raves, where attendees wore fishing weights to simulate alien atmospheres. The most iconic protest, when Gen's activists projected, "Climate change died for this, onto the moon." Military strategists lost sleep. Pentagon whiteboards read like bad sci-fi. Scenario 12. What if their trees are the missiles? Arms manufacturers pivoted to marketing diplomatic defense systems. Read fancy guns with gift wrapping. Russia accidentally revealed plans for cosmic bear cavalry before claiming it was satirical performance art. The most pragmatic response came from Switzerland, who quietly updated neutrality treaties to include and/or alien civilizations. Ordinary life became deliciously surreal. Speed dating events added, willing to relocate. 2 icebreakers. Pet owners debated whether cats would theoretically dominate alien ecosystems. Suburban dads turned garages into DIY spaceship workshops, while their kids wrote school essays titled, "Why I Should Be the First Child on Proxima b." And somewhere, a lonely barista sighed as customers demanded alien-themed lattes they couldn't possibly make. The most profound realization: humanity wasn't just discovering a new planet, we were discovering ourselves. Our hopes, fears, and absurdities were laid bare in the cosmic mirror. Whether we'd rise to the occasion or crash land spectacularly remained to be seen. But one thing was clear: the universe had handed us a blank page. And humanity, for better or worse, was finally ready to write. The first human delegation to Proxima b was a disaster before it even left Earth. The team, carefully selected for their diplomatic prowess and scientific expertise, immediately devolved into petty squabbles over who got the window seat on the spaceship. The mission's AI pilot, named HAL 9000 but cooler, had to mediate arguments about snack rations and whose turn it was to clean the zero-gravity toilet. Meanwhile, the media dubbed them the galactic reality show cast, and started taking bets on who would crack first. When they finally arrived, the aliens, who turned out to look like sentient ferns with a penchant for interpretive dance, were unimpressed. The delegation's gift basket, containing a pineapple, a Rubik's Cube, and a mixtape of Earth's greatest hits, featuring Baby Shark on repeat, was politely declined. The ferns responded with a gift of their own, a single leaf that, when analyzed, contained a message reading, "We've been watching your reality TV. Please leave." Back on Earth, the fallout was swift. Conspiracy theorists claimed the ferns were actually ancient Earth plants that had evolved to escape human neglect. Environmentalists declared Proxima b a fern sanctuary and demanded it be left untouched. The tourism industry pivoted to selling Fern Planet experience packages, which involved sitting in a room full of potted plants while someone whispered, "You're in space now." The scientific community was divided. Some argued the ferns represented a unique evolutionary path that could revolutionize biology. Others pointed out that they were, in fact, just really advanced plants. The most controversial theory came from a botanist who suggested the ferns were actually the planet's version of teenagers, and the real adults were hiding underground to avoid human contact. Pop culture embraced the ferns with open arms. A sitcom called Fern and Loathing in Proxima b became a surprise hit, despite its plot being essentially roommates but in space. TikTok dances mimicking fern movements went viral, though most people just looked like they were having seizures. The most bizarre trend, ferncore, a fashion movement involving green wigs, leafy outfits, and a lot of chlorophyll smoothies. Religious institutions struggled to adapt. The Vatican issued a statement declaring ferns God's leafy children, which was met with mixed reactions. A new cult emerged, worshipping the ferns as cosmic gardeners, sent to prune humanity's excesses. Meanwhile, a televangelist claimed the ferns were a sign of the apocalypse and started selling fern-proof bunkers for $10,000 each. The military, of course, saw the ferns as a threat. Pentagon strategists drafted plans for Operation Leaf Blower, a hypothetical invasion involving flamethrowers and tactical lawnmowers. The plan was scrapped when someone pointed out that the ferns could probably outsmart humanity with their superior photosynthesis skills. Ordinary people found ways to incorporate the ferns into their daily lives. Pet owners started dressing their dogs as ferns for Halloween. Suburban dads began fernscaping their lawns, competing to see who could create the most Proxima bee-like garden. And somewhere, a kindergarten teacher sighed as their students presented what I learned from the ferns essays, which mostly involved stick figures holding leaves. The most surprising outcome, humanity started to reflect on its own behavior. The ferns' polite but firm rejection forced people to confront their own flaws. Maybe we weren't the galaxy's shining example of intelligence. Maybe we were just a bunch of overgrown primates with a Wi-Fi addiction. But amidst the self-reflection, there was hope. The ferns had shown us that intelligence could take many forms, even leafy, interpretive dance-loving ones. And if we could learn to coexist with them, maybe we could learn to coexist with each other. The first human colony on Proxima b was a chaotic mix of ambition and incompetence. The colonists, handpicked for their pioneering spirit and ability to work well with others, immediately proved they were neither. The first argument broke out over who got to name the colony. Suggestions ranged from New York to Fernlandia to Elon's Folly. The compromise, Proxima Prime, which sounded cool but was immediately shortened to Pro-X by everyone. The colony's infrastructure was a disaster. The prefab housing units, designed by an AI that had clearly never met a human, were too small for anyone over 5 feet 5 inches. The plumbing system, jury-rigged by an overconfident engineer, had a habit of spraying water at random intervals. And the food supply, mostly freeze-dried meals that tasted like regret and a single hydroponic garden that produced exactly 3 cherry tomatoes before dying of neglect. The ferns, meanwhile, watched from a distance with what could only be described as botanical amusement. They occasionally sent over gifts, mostly rocks and leaves, which the colonists interpreted as either peace offerings or passive-aggressive insults. The most confusing moment came when the ferns delivered a single pebble with the word balance etched into it. The colonists spent weeks debating its meaning before realizing it was probably just a fern's idea of a joke. Back on Earth, the media coverage was relentless. Reality shows like Proxima Survival and Fern Wars dominated the airwaves, turning the colonists into unwilling celebrities. Social media was flooded with memes mocking their every misstep, from the time they accidentally set their water supply on fire to the infamous Great Tomato Heist, where one colonist stole all 3 cherry tomatoes and tried to sell them on eBay. The scientific community was both fascinated and horrified. Biologists studied the ferns' unique biology, discovering they could communicate through vibrations in the soil. Psychologists analyzed the colonists' mental health, concluding they were stressed but coping. And engineers, they just shook their heads and said, "We told you so." Religious institutions found new meaning in the colony's struggles. Some saw it as a test of humanity's resilience, others as a punishment for our hubris. A new sect emerged, worshipping the ferns as cosmic teachers, sent to humble humanity. Their mantra, be like the fern, flexible, green, and unbothered. The military, of course, saw the colony as a strategic outpost. Plans were drafted for a Proxima Defense Force, which mostly involved training soldiers to fight in low gravity and avoid stepping on ferns. The most controversial proposal, a space-based missile system called Fern Shield, which was scrapped when someone pointed out it would probably just annoy the ferns. Ordinary people found ways to connect with the colony. Schools held Proxima Days, where students dressed as colonists and learned about space exploration. Suburban dads started Proxima proofing their homes, which mostly involved buying a lot of duct tape and calling it a day. And somewhere, a kindergarten teacher sighed as their students presented what I would bring to Proxima projects, which mostly involved stuffed animals and candy. The most profound realization: the colony wasn't just a scientific experiment, it was a mirror. It reflected humanity's best and worst traits, our ambition, our ingenuity, and our ability to mess things up spectacularly. But amidst the chaos, there was hope. The colonists were learning, slowly but surely, how to survive on a new world. And, if they could do it, maybe humanity could too. The first human-fern treaty was a masterpiece of diplomacy and absurdity. The negotiations, held in a clearing filled with bioluminescent ferns, were mediated by an AI named Diplobot 3000. The humans arrived with a PowerPoint presentation titled, "Why We Deserve a Second Chance." The ferns responded with a synchronized dance that, when translated, meant, "We'll think about it." The treaty's terms were simple but groundbreaking. Humans could stay on Proxima B, but only if they followed strict environmental guidelines. No pollution, no deforestation, and absolutely no reality TV. In return, the ferns agreed to teach humans about sustainable living, though their methods were unconventional. The first lesson involved sitting in silence for 6 hours while the ferns photosynthesized. Back on Earth, the treaty was hailed as a historic achievement. Politicians gave speeches about a new era of cooperation. Scientists published papers on fern-human symbiosis. And the media, they immediately started planning a reality show called Fern Whisperers, which was promptly vetoed by the ferns. The scientific community was ecstatic. Biologists studied the ferns' communication methods, discovering they could talk through vibrations in the soil. Engineers developed new technologies inspired by fern biology, including self-repairing solar panels and biodegradable plastics. And psychologists, they just marveled at how the ferns managed to stay so calm all the time. Religious institutions found new meaning in the treaty. Some saw it as a sign of divine intervention, others as proof of humanity's potential for growth. A new sect emerged, worshipping the ferns as cosmic healers, sent to guide humanity back to balance. Their mantra, "Be like the fern, patient, green, and unbothered." The military, of course, saw the treaty as a strategic victory. Plans were drafted for a Proxima Peace Corps, which mostly involved training soldiers to meditate and avoid stepping on ferns. The most controversial proposal, a space-based environmental monitoring system called Fern Watch, which was scrapped when someone pointed out it would probably just annoy the ferns. Ordinary people found ways to connect with the treaty. Schools held Fern Days, where students dressed as ferns and learned about sustainable living. Suburban dads started fernscaping their lawns, competing to see who could create the most Proxima Bee-like garden. And somewhere, a kindergarten teacher sighed as their students presented what I learned from the ferns essays, which mostly involved stick figures holding leaves. The most profound realization: the treaty wasn't just a diplomatic agreement, it was a lesson. It showed humanity that we could coexist with other species, even if they were sentient ferns with a penchant for interpretive dance. But amidst the celebration, there was a lingering question: could we really change? Or would we fall back into our old habits the moment the ferns weren't looking? The first human fern festival was a mix of cultural exchange and utter chaos. The humans brought music, food, and a lot of awkward attempts at fern dancing. The ferns responded with a synchronized photosynthesis performance that left everyone feeling both enlightened and slightly sunburned. The festival's highlight: the Great Leaf Exchange, where humans and ferns traded gifts. The humans offered technology, art, and a lot of questionable fashion choices. The ferns responded with leaves, rocks, and a single pebble with the word balance etched into it. The humans spent hours debating its meaning before realizing it was probably just a fern's idea of a joke. Back on Earth, the festival was hailed as a cultural milestone. Politicians gave speeches about a new era of understanding. Scientists published papers on fern-human symbiosis. And the media, they immediately started planning a reality show called Fern Fest, which was promptly vetoed by the ferns. The scientific community was ecstatic. Biologists studied the ferns' communication methods, discovering they could talk through vibrations in the soil. Engineers developed new technologies inspired by fern biology, including self-repairing solar panels and biodegradable plastics. And psychologists, they just marveled at how the ferns managed to stay so calm all the time. Religious institutions found new meaning in the festival. Some saw it as a sign of divine intervention, others as proof of humanity's potential for growth. A new sect emerged, worshipping the ferns as cosmic healers, sent to guide humanity back to balance. Their mantra, "Be like the fern, patient, green, and unbothered." The military, of course, saw the festival as a strategic victory. Plans were drafted for a Proxima Peace Corps, which mostly involved training soldiers to meditate and avoid stepping on ferns. The most controversial proposal, a space-based environmental monitoring system called Fern Watch, which was scrapped when someone pointed out it would probably just annoy the ferns. Ordinary people found ways to connect with the festival. Schools held Fern Days, where students dressed as ferns and learned about sustainable living. Suburban dads started fernscaping their lawns, competing to see who could create the most Proxima Bee-like garden. And somewhere, a kindergarten teacher sighed as their students presented "What I Learned from the Ferns" essays, which mostly involved stick figures holding leaves. The most profound realization: the festival wasn't just a celebration, it was a lesson. It showed humanity that we could coexist with other species, even if they were sentient ferns with a penchant for interpretive dance. But amidst the celebration, there was a lingering question: could we really change? Or would we fall back into our old habits the moment the ferns weren't looking? As the festival ended, the ferns performed one last dance. It was a message, translated by Diplobot 3000 as, "We are all leaves on the same cosmic tree." And for the first time, humanity truly understood. We weren't alone in the universe. We were part of something bigger, something greener, and something infinitely more patient. The question now was, would we rise to the occasion, or would we wither like a neglected houseplant? Only time, and a lot of photosynthesis, would tell. And that's our journey to Proxima b, where we discovered that the universe might be full of neighbors, but the most alien thing out there might just be ourselves. If this episode made you laugh, think, or look suspiciously at your houseplants, do us a solid. Hit subscribe for more cosmic what-ifs, leave a review if you're now terrified of sentient ferns, and remember, whether we're alone in the universe or not, we're all just trying to grow toward the light. Until next time, keep your oxygen tanks full and your interpretive dance moves ready. This is What If Horizons, signing off.